Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallava Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallava Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining this class. So today we are seeing sloka number 3.39, third chapter, 39th sloka. So hope the sloka is visible, right? Clear? Alright, we will start with reciting the sloka. Avartam jnanam etena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpureno nalenacha avartam jnanam etena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalenacha avartam jnanam etena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalenacha. Anybody would like to recite this sloka? Give it a try. Avartam jnanam etena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalenacha. Anybody? Alright, we'll read the word by word meaning. Avartam, covered. Jnanam, pure consciousness. Etena, by this. Jnanina, of the knower. Nityavairina, by the eternal enemy. Kamarupena, in the form of lust. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Dushpurena, never to be satisfied. Analaina, by the fire. Cha, also. So we'll read the translation and purport by the Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Jai. Translation. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness become covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Purport. It is said that in the Manusmriti that lust cannot be satisfied by any amount of sense enjoyment. Thus, as fire is never extinguished by a constant supply of fuel, in the material world, the center of all activities is sex, and thus this material world is called Maitunya Agara, or the shackles of sex life. In the ordinary prison house, criminals are kept within bars. Similarly, the criminals who are disobedient to the laws of the Lord are shackled by sex life. Advancement of material civilization on the basis of sense gratification means increasing the duration of the material existence of a living entity. Therefore, this lust is the symbol of ignorance by which the living entity is kept within the material world. While one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the enjoyer. We'll begin the class with the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimarandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sabidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tatati Swapadandikam Vandegam Sri Guru Sri Yuda Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagarjadam Sagana Ranadhanvidam Tamsa Jeevam Satvedam Savududam Parijana Sagidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalitan Sri Vishakan Vidamsha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपदे गोपेश गोपिका कांदा राधा कांदा नमोस्तुते तप्त कांजना गौरंगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुदे देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभयेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिधि नामिने नामस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Thanks for joining this class again. So we were seeing this sloka 3.39, where the 3.39 sloka is actually the answers for the Arjuna's question on 3.36 sloka, where Arjuna is inquiring about many things. Out of this, one is about this lust, the sex life, and Krishna is started explaining about this lust, okay, the kama. So before going into this sloka exactly, we will see how the lust came into existence. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it was mentioned that Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadaya Kabunaya Shavanadi Shuddha Siddhe Karaya Udaya. So the translation is, pure love of Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of the living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, the love naturally awakens. So by default, by eternal, we are all actually Nitya Siddha. We are all actually devotees of Krishna. The love for Krishna is always there in our heart eternally. That love is actually coming from Krishna himself. So we are all by default Krishna's devotee. But what happened when we came down? Why that devotion is not there nowadays? Is because of this contact of this material world. When the soul makes contacts in this material world, what happens is that eternal love for the Krishna turns into the self-lust. It turns into the lust, the kama. So the analogy given here is how a milk turns into a yogurt by merging with that sour water, the tamarind water, or even if you put the lemon, that something sour element, if you add in the milk transforms into yogurt or curd, like it changes its form, right? So like that, we are all by eternally the Krishna's servant, Krishna's devotees. We have the love for Krishna in our heart always. But what happens is, when we fall down, when we come into this material world, that lust, by the contact with this material world, that love for the Krishna, in the contact with this material world, transforms into the lust. That is this nature of this material world. So whenever we contact with this material world, we automatically have lust in our heart. This lust is actually coming from Krishna himself, right? This love for the Krishna is only turned into the lust. So this lust is also eternal. So it is very, very difficult to overcome this lust in this material world because it is coming from the Krishna. Even though it is a transformed form, transformed one, it is very, very difficult to overcome. That is why this material world is very dangerous. So, lust is not just a sexual life. Of course, the sex life is the predominant in the lust. In general, the lust is like the lording over these material things and also having the sensual pleasure. So even when you go to the movie, you hear the nice song, that's a sensual pleasure. Your hearing sense is enjoying it. When you taste a food, that tongue, that's a sensual pleasure. It is enjoying it. Right? Same way when you see a movie, your sensual pleasure is activated. You will get a flickering happiness. The same way, the highest level of the happiness in this material world is the sexual life. That is the flickering happiness when we, the two genders, the opposite genders meet. So this sex life is the highest in this material world. But what is happening is the people are behind this sex life, and because of that, the whole civilization is shackled. And because of that, we are having lot and lots of troubles. And very difficult to overcome this lust because it is also coming from Krishna. And this is that love for the Krishna is transformed into the lust. So in order to overcome that, we need to understand what is that exactly like. What is its characteristics in deeper, right? If you want to solve a problem, you have to understand the problem thoroughly, right? That same process here. We wanted to understand very much about this lust. So we will see that one by one. What are these characteristics of lust? So this lust actually, people think that how can we solve or how can we control the lust? So, and many problems are arising because of this lust. So in the 16th chapter, again, this is a beautiful sloka. Traividim narakashedam narakashyedam dwaram nasanam atmanaha kama krodha tada lobha tasmat edat trayam. So in this sloka, Krishna is defining that there are three gates which is leading to the hell. What are that three gates? Lust, anger, and greed. Okay, so everyone should give up this. So in that, the major thing is lust. So when this lust is not satisfied, we will get anger. When this lust is satisfied, we will get greediness. So ultimately, we cannot satisfy this lust. So we can see that there are a lot of people in angry mode, right? Like we call it them as angry bird. And even we are also, sometimes we get lot of anger. What is that source of that anger? Because of that anger only we are having a lot of issues, right, in this material world. And what is the source for that anger? The source for that anger also lust. It is also given in the second chapter of this Srimad Bhagavatam, 62nd sloka. Jayado Vishayan Bumshan Sangat Teshu Bhajayate. Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodha Abhijayate. So how is that anger is coming? When we have the sense object which is developing the attachment for the senses, right? From that attachment this lust develops. For example, if you like to see a lot of movies, that is an attachment, right? Or if you like to hear a lot of songs, that cinema songs or something like that, or if you like some food, some street food, so when you develop that attachment for that, you keep on eating it or keep on going to movie or keep on hearing a lot of songs. What is that? That attachment is happening. And once that attachment becomes strong, and from that attachment, lust will automatically develop. And because of that lust, you will get anger and you will get greediness. Okay? So it is because of our sensual attachment with all the material sense objects. Right? There are many entertainment things are right now present, and we are keep on wondering about everything, and we are developing attachment with everything. And because of that, what is happening? The lust automatically will develop. And then it is very, very difficult to satisfy this lust. And because of that, we get all other problems in this material world. So what you have to do, we have to stop this attachment. But is that very easy? No, it is not very easy. So how this lust covers us? We have seen that the lust is the transformed transformation of the our eternal love for Krishna. So it covers our eternal love for Krishna. This covering also in 3 degrees we have seen. So the highermost degree is the covering of the embryo by the womb. When we were in the womb, can we stretch our legs and hands? It is very difficult. Like we were very much constrained when we were in this womb. Like this, when we get more attachment and when we are in the higher level of the lust, our covering will be very strong. Because of that, it is very, very difficult to progress in the spiritual life, or very, very difficult to understand Krishna or to develop the love for the Krishna. Because our knowledge is completely covered. We will not be getting any sense of attachment towards Krishna, towards God, towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of that, what will happen? We think that there is no God. Because we were driven by this lust. And because of that covering is very strong. And sometimes the people are trying to get more knowledge, and sometimes they understand this philosophy and they wanted to elevate themselves a little more. For them, the covering will become lighter. That is like the covering of the dust on the mirror. Okay, if you wipe the dust, you can easily see your face clearly, like whatever the object you wanted reflecting that mirror, you can see it very clearly. So that is the little lower stage of covering. These covering can be cleansed by spiritual progress. Like there are a lot of people, those who like to come to the temple, right? And when they regularly coming in, then slowly this covering will become lighter and lighter. We can able to progress spiritually very well. So that covering, that's the second stage, that we can call it as a dust and the mirror covering. So the cleansing can be easily happen when you have. Even the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told that in the Sixthashtakam, Seto Tarpana Marjanam. It means that removing that covering. How we can remove that covering? By chanting the Hare Krishna Maha. And when you started chanting it, right? When you started going towards Krishna, when you start developing towards Krishna, you will become a devotee. That time the covering even become lighter. That is the analogy here given is smoke and fire. Okay, so if a fire is there will be always a smoke. But still, you can able to see the fire, right? The fire will be very bright. Sometimes the smoke will be very thick, but if you go closer to the fire, you can able to recognize where is the fire is. Okay, so the covering of the smoke to the fire, it will not be very thick. So that's the level of covering will become lightened when you become a devotee. When you start always become progressing in this devotional service, and when you start chanting it and start coming to the temple regularly and start doing the service for the devotees, then the covering will become lighter. So from the covering, the thickened lichen womb covered the embryo, to you are coming to the stage where the smoke covered to the fire. That stage, that transformation will happen when you start progressing in your spiritual state. And once you reach this state, it is that state where smoke, fire covering state, and it is easily to progress more. Like so, now you know where the path is. So it's up to you to walk in that. That will become a very easy. So these coverings are given in this sloka number, the previous sloka 38. So this is the degree of the lust. Like right now, if you see in the present world, everyone is like in the lowest, highest stage of covering, like womb and embryo. So the whole world is driven mad, right, by this mad lust, and people are wandering, doing many nasty things because of this, and there are lots and lots of problems in this world because of this, right? And people think that how to control this lust? Can we control this lust? It is very difficult, right? It is very, very difficult. It is not possible at all, especially in this material world. You will get a lot of triggers, like when you go out, or just right now the access is become very much lenient. Like we can able to access everything. Like it's the data world people are telling, right? Like just you open your mobile phone, you see it everything. Okay, so what is happening? This advancement, this technological advancement, what people are thinking that we are advancing, but what is happening is because of that advancement, we were actually driven down spiritually. Right? Like we will not be able to progress in your spiritual life because of this advancement, because all these technologies are triggering us to do all the bad things. Right? So that is the biggest problem in this material world. So with this problem, it is very, very difficult to overcome the lust. And still, if you go deeper about this lust, people say that sometimes, so if you want to, there are many movies like you want to, and even the quotes you would have seen, you want to leave the cigarette, you smoke it 100 cigarettes every day, eventually you will leave it because you will start hating it. But that is not the case. That just another excuse to smoke more. The same case here, like people think that I can easily overcome the lust, by involving more and more sexual activities. But the lust is like a fire, and involving in the sexual activity is like adding fuel to the fire. And we are thinking that by adding the fuel to the fire, we can easily stop the fire. How is that possible? Right? That's what given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the ninth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, is about the liberation. In that ninth canto, 19th chapter, 14th sloka. Na jadu kamaga kamam upabhogana sanyadi havisha krishna vartameva bhuya evabi vardade. So, the translation is, as supplying butter to a fire does not diminish the fire but instead increases it more and more. The endeavor to stop lusty desires by continual enjoyment can never be successful. In fact, one must voluntarily cease from the material desires. Right? Like we think that like if you want to satisfy your desires, you have to do lot and lot of continuous enjoyment. If you do it, you can satisfy. No, you will not never be satisfied. Right? Like it is like trying to stop the fire by adding the fuel. Is that possible? So that is what everyone is doing in this material world. I can stop the fire by adding more and more fuel, more and more. So that is why like many things are developing, like the premarital relationship and then post-marital illicit relationship. Everything is happening in this world, and that is the main. If you see, most of the problems in this world is start from this lust. If you see in history, most of the war are fought for this lust only, right? So everything is the starting point is lust, because that's the eternal love of Krishna which is transformed into lust. Okay, that is very strong, because when you are in the spiritual planet, the eternal love for Krishna is very strong. And that strong lust only, when it's contacted with this material world, it transformed into lust. So that is why it is very, very difficult to control it, and we try to control it by enjoying more and more. Right? That is the issue. And that is why in this present sloka, this lust is defined as Nitya Vairina. Nitya Vairina means eternal enemy. Because this lust is eternal, because it's that love transformed, Krishna's love transformed. And it become our enemy, eternal enemy, not just an ordinary enemy. It's an eternal enemy. Eternal means it's always there. So that enemy also always there. Right? So that is why it is eternal enemy. And how Krishna using this eternal enemy, we have to see. See, in a prison house, all the prisoners will be chained, right? Like there are inside the prison, inside the bar, and we are all chained. And this material world is also like a prison. How it is prison? Because we fought with our Supreme Father, Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and say that I also wanted to enjoy like you. So we fall down because of that. Because we wanted to go away from Krishna. Like sometimes we will fight with our father, right? Like, Father, I won't do whatever you are doing. I'm leaving home. Right? Like that we left our home and fall down here. So why Krishna left us then? That's the question, right? Like even the father will try to stop us, right? Even if we say like this. But still, sometimes what will happen? Okay, this guy has to go out. He has to learn a lesson. Then only you will understand the goodness, right? So sometimes the father will allow us to leave. So we will go out, we will learn all the lessons, and then we will come back. Okay, Father, what you have said is correct. I'm coming back. Take me back. So that is what we are all doing now. So this, why we fall down is the punishment. The punishment for disobeying our Supreme Father. That is why we fall down. So when you are punished, where you will be? You will be in a prison. Right? And this material world is the prison. And in prison, there will be a bar, and the chains will be help us to constrain us. Right? Not to escape. We should not escape from the prison, right? So that is why we will be having bars, we will be shackled with the chains, we will be closed with the bars and the doors, and everything will be there. So how to tie up in this material world, right? That is where this lust plays a role. The lust only tying up in this material world. So we have to enjoy this lust under the jurisdiction of scriptures. Okay, so there is nothing wrong in having the sexual pleasure, but we have to do it in a sastric way, by under the marriage, by having a proper authority marriage, and then have use this lust to beget Krishna conscious child. Then that lust become eternal service, because you are going to develop another devotee. So if that is the case, this lust is good. But right now what is happening is people are using this as for illicit or the very unfair affairs, right? Like a premarital affair, postmarital affair. So all these things are sin. It's a great sin. Okay. So in movies and all, people say now, just doing the first murder is difficult. Right? Once you commit the first murder, it is easy to commit the next subsequent murder. Then that is how the big gangsters, rowdies are formed, right? So like that, this sinful activity is doing for the first time only very difficult. But once you committed that sin activity, what will happen? The propensity to do the more sin will increase. So that become a cycle. Once you commit one sin, it is like putting a seed. You committed one sin, putting a seed. Two things will happen when you commit the sin. One is the seed. That's the seed of karma. When you do the sin activity, that seed will become plant, tree, and give the fruits. And that fruits only the result of that activity, sin activity. That we have to undergo. So whatever the problems, whatever the situation we were put in, it is because of the seed which you are planted long time back. Not in this life, maybe many lives before you have put that seed. That seed only you are, that fruit only you are now getting it. We don't know how many seeds are that like that. So once you put one seed, what will happen? The propensity to put more seed will increase. So you'll end up committing more and more sin activities and more lusty activities. Then lot of seeds will be there. Everything will shackle you in this material world. Then it is difficult to leave this material world. Why we want to leave this material world? Because you came down for a punishment. Your home is the spiritual world, where Krishna, our eternal Father, is waiting for us. But we fought with them and we fall down. Now we have to go back. So who will be in the prison? Always will be in prison. Nobody will be in the prison, right? Nobody wanted to be in prison. Even if some activity you are done, you went to the prison, what you will think is how to come out of it, right? Nobody will think that I have to stay in the prison only, right? That is not a sane person will do. Insane person only will think like that. No, this prison is good, I will stay in this prison, right? Like nobody will do that, right? But we are doing it in this material world. We want to stay in this prison because we think that we are enjoying it. But we don't know the truth that this material world is Dukkalayam Ashashwadam. Meaning this material world is full of miseries and it is also temporary. So whatever the happiness you are getting from the sensual pleasure also very temporary. For example, you buy a bike. First initial date you will be having more happiness while riding the bike and everything. After let's say after a year, do you think that you will feel the same happiness as that you are riding that bike for the first time? No, right? So that happiness is temporary. Right? Only few days it lasts and then it's gone. Now you will get the same happiness only if you buy a car. Okay? After that, that is also will dissolve in a few months. After that, you will think that no, I have to buy a big car. I want to go for a very higher car. I want to buy a SUV. Now I am having only hatchback. So that's what will happen. So this happiness is temporary. So you need more and more supply to get the same level of happiness. Okay, so that is the problem. That is what this ashashvatam, very temporary. Same way, this sensual pleasure also very temporary, right? That is why we need more and more supply. Like, so first time when you watch the movie, you will be happy, but the second time you need a very good movie, not the same movie, not the boring movie, right? That's what the happiness is. Like, you are losing that happiness, what you had previously, because that happiness is temporary. But when you have the eternal happiness, that happiness is keeps increasing. That is the difference between this material happiness and the eternal happiness. Okay, so we think that this small flickering happiness because of the sensual pleasure is very good. That is why I'm going to stay in this material world for many, many births. If you think like that, that is stupidity, right? Right? No sane person will think like that. When you get this knowledge, what we have to think is like how to come out of this material world. But what we are thinking is, no, no, this is good. This is a small amount of happiness is I'm getting, that is enough for me. I will stay in this and suffer. Imagine, like, for the small amount of the happiness, how much suffering we are undergoing. Actually, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned that the 9 month, the baby inside the womb, it's undergo tremendous suffering, actually. Okay, and we forgot actually, but we have undergone that. And even right now, if you ask all the school going children, they will say like, oh God, why should I go to the school, right? Like, they don't like to go into school. But now we'll say like, no, school life is better because you are suffering more here. That is why you wanted to go back to school life. But during that school life time, what you will think is like, you feel that you are suffering actually. But now say people will say no, school life is good because you are having more suffering now than that school life. That is why you are thinking like that. So, but in between, like a like that tube light when you switch it on, like blinking, right? So like that we will get a small amount of the happiness. But what is happening is everything is temporary. It is lying down. So you need dying down. You need more and more happiness, and you are doing more and more non-sensual, senseless activities to get more happiness. So that is why this lust is an eternal enemy. It is making us to do more and more sin activities. So once you put one seed, that is enough. Then you will continuously keep on committing more and more sins, and these sins will shackle us in this material world. Then we will not be able to go back at all. We will be tied up in this material world. That is the problem. So that is why it is called as this lust is called as the Maitunya Agara. Maitunya Agara means it's shackled by the sexual life. So we are all shackled in this material world by the sexual life. So this is a prison, and in this prison, where is the bars and where is the chains? These bars and chains are in the form of lust. So that is what tying us in this material world and making us to do more and more sins, so that we will be staying in this material world forever. We will not think about coming out of this material world. We are taking many births. So you see that like nowadays lots of groups are there, especially in Bangalore. You can see a lot of NGOs, they are doing the service like we have to save the stray dogs. Right? You have seen that, right? There are a lot of stray dogs are there. We want to save it, like, but they are not thinking that they are also in that stray dog body few lives before. Right? And it is also highly possible that we may fall down to that stray dog body in the future itself. In the next life, we don't know like what body we will get in our next life based on our sin. Maybe we may end up in this stray dog position itself. Maybe these NGO guys are running all these organization because they may see in that like maybe next life I will go to that body. So let me build this organization so that next life somebody will save me. Right? So that is what happening in this material world right now. Right? Like, we are not thinking about how to come out of this cycle, how to come out of this material cycle. So if we get this knowledge, and then this is the mad cycle, mad rat race, we want to come out, then only we will think about how to come out of this Maitunya Akara. How to defeat that Nitya Vairina, the eternal enemy. Okay. So how to defeat that? Even that is also given in the scriptures. So if you see Maharaj Priyavrata. So who is Priyavrata is? Priyavrata is son of Swayambhu Manu. Who is Swayambhu Manu is? Swayambhu Manu is the Brahma's son. Okay, so Swayambhu, in this Brahma's one day, there are 1,000 Chaturyugas. One Chaturyuga is the Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga combined, one Chaturyuga. Okay, one Chaturyuga is for 43 lakhs 20,000 years, I think. So one Kali Yuga is, how much is that Kali Yuga? Not 6 lakhs. 4 lakhs 32,000 years. That is the Kali Yuga. Now 5,000 years is over. Remaining 4 lakh 27 years is there. So this earth will not destroy like next year. Like there are theories now in 2000 earth will destroy. Like that things will not happen. It's still 4 lakh 27 years. Like that the previous Yuga, the Dwapara Yuga is 2 times of 8 lakh 64,000. And the Treta Yuga is 3 times of, that is something around 17 lakh 32,000. And the Satya Yuga is 4 times. So if you all add together, it will come like 43 lakhs 20,000 years. Okay, that is one Chaturyuga. So like that, Brahma's one day is 1,000 Chaturyuga. That is like 43 lakh 20,000 into 1,000. That many yugas is there. Okay, that many years Brahma's one day is. In that one day, there are 72 Manus to manage this all the creations. Okay, the first Manu is the Swayambhu Manu. So the Swayambhu Manu, in order to get lot of people in order to create the population, there are a lot of Prajapatis will be there. So the Swayambhu Manu's first son is the Maharaj Priyavrata. So he actually got enlightened by Narada Muni. And his father wanted him to take the whole Bhumandala. You become the king for the whole Bhumandala. But Priyavrata, since he understands all these philosophies and things like that, he doesn't want to enter in this material activity. So he actually rejected that offer. So who will do that? Like if you are given a chance, like you can become the Prime Minister of India and you are rejecting it, that's what Priyavrata is. He has given the chance to become the king of the whole Bhumandala, but he rejected that. Because he knows that once you enter into this material life, you will be shackled. Maithuni Agara will happen. So he is rejected. But his spiritual master Narada Muni, he advised him, no, don't say like that. You are an elevated person. You can easily come out. Please take charge. But still he is not happy. But he has to do because his spiritual master is ordering. But still he is not happy. And again, Lord Brahma came from the Satyaloka and he came down and he blessed him and requested him. When the Lord Brahma requested him to the King Priyavrata, no, don't say like that, son. You become the king of this Bhumandala. Okay, that's it. Then seeing all these Devatas, Brahma, his spiritual master, his father, everybody is requesting, he accepted that offer and he entered in this material life. But he was very cautious and he was doing this spiritual progress very nicely, devotional service very nicely, and because of that, he was easily come out. So he married to a Prajapati, I forgot his name, Vishwakarma. He married the daughter of Vishwakarma. Vishwakarma is one of the Prajapati. And he begat 10 children, 10 sons. And after that, like he was ruling very well, and he is the one divided this Bhumandala into 7 dweeps. Right? Like we have 7 oceans. This is the salt ocean dweep, Jambudvipa. Like that, the 7 deeps, like his chariot go around this Bhumandala and created the 7 islands. And each island is covered by different oceans. So our island is the Jambudvipa. That Jambudvipa is covered by salt ocean. Like that, there is an island which is covered by the milk ocean. There is an island covered by the sugar ocean, sugarcane juice ocean. There is an island it's covered by the intoxication liquor ocean. Everything is that. 7 oceans are there, 7 islands are there. And ours is the Jambudvipa, where the milk ocean, the salt water ocean is there. Again, this Jambudvipa is divided into 9 Varsha, and ours is the Bharata Varsha. So these 7 islands he has given to 7 sons. And then remaining 3 sons took sannyasa with the king itself. So after ruling very well, and then after giving this kingdom to their sons, he took up the sannyas ashrama. And then along with him, three sons also took the sannyas ashrama, and they did the bhakti. Then they went back to Godhead peacefully. So this is what the king Priyavrata did. So what we have to understand is we are also should do like that to come out of this cycle, to how to break the shackles of sex life. That is by doing this, undergoing this process of scriptural jurisdiction, by utilizing the sex life only for begetting Krishna conscious children under the custody of marriage, doing the proper marriage, and then beget the Krishna conscious children and raise the children Krishna conscious way. Then all the sins will be nullified because you are doing a service for Krishna. And with that, we can easily reduce our karma, and doing this progress of bhakti, we can easily come out of this shackles of this maitunya akara, the shackles of sex life, we can easily deliver. So the more and more Krishna is explained about this lust as well in the subsequent slokas, and he says more characteristics of the lust again, and then he's also going to explain how we can come out of it. But the idea is this, like, if you want to come out of it, like, you have to be a devotee and do everything whatever you are doing for the Krishna, even the sex life, doing it for begetting the Krishna consciousness. So that is the only way we can escape from this Maitanya Agara. That's the only way we can break the shackles of this sex life. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult. It is like doing it more sensual pressure. It's like an adding butter to that fire only and thinking that the fire will go off. No, that won't happen at all. Hare Krishna. This is what we have seen today. Any questions on this? Yes, Prabhuji. Because, see, we wanted to enjoy without Krishna. Okay? But Krishna is so merciful, he has given an avenue for us to taste that enjoyment. We got a free will. We can do whatever we want. So Krishna is giving us a choice. Okay, you wanted to enjoy without me, but that is not an enjoyment, that is a suffering. But still you wanted to suffer, so I will give you a place to enjoy. That is why this material world is created. This material world is, among all the Krishna's energy, this material world is just a 1/4. Remaining 3/4 is spiritual world. So we may think that there are a lot of people are here. No, actually, most of the people are devotees only in the spiritual world. This material world is a very small amount. Like, whoever wanted to come down and take this suffering, Krishna is giving you a chance, giving us a chance. So we came down. Right? Any other question? Anything else? Alright, if there is no further question, then we'll stop the class. Thank you everyone for joining. Hare Krishna.